to the next generation of warfare, psychological warfare. In modern conflict, the mind is a potent weapon. Discover General Michael T. Flynn's groundbreaking guide, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. Unlock tactics, strategies, and the mindset to navigate this cognitive battlefield that we all find ourselves in. Equip yourself against manipulation and emerge unscathed. Unleash your potential. Order now.
What's up, my family? It is August 18th, 2026. It is Tuesday night. It is a conversation with just Alpha 2.0. We're going to carry off from yesterday, cover a couple headlines. I just want to say I absolutely love you guys. Before we get into tonight's show, I got a special message for some people because we know you're listening. A lot of fake doctors out there, a lot of fake people out there. And you know, when you make assertions that you're working with the FBI in any capacity, and it's not true, and you're doing it for the purposes of attacking someone's reputation or their business, and you're doing that across state lines, let's just start here. 18 USC 2261 Alpha. Before you're going to pretend that you worked with the FBI, you better make sure the people you come after actually didn't work with the FBI. With that, folks, the ones meant to hear it will hear it. If not, their simps will make sure the message is delivered. A lot of people gonna see what it's like when you mess with a real big dog. So, folks, with that, let's get into the amazing show tonight. Before we do that, and again, if you missed last night's, you want to make sure that you tune into it. We're gonna be starting off once we get past the general news into the Candace Owens versus Andrew debate reaction. We're gonna get into the shadow government coup that is exposed, and no Panicans. No Panicans. We're going to make this show go really fast because tonight's DEF CON doesn't start at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. It starts at 11 p.m. Eastern. So we got a little bit of time. We're roughly at about that 90-minute mark or so, just under it. So we're going to fly through this fast. And by doing that, one of the reasons I'm able to make this amazing show free for you guys, that's right, free, is because I got amazing sponsors, amazing affiliates, amazing partnerships. And one of those folks is neutronixlabs.com, neutronixlabs.com. Listen, I've talked about them routinely. They're teamed up with Roy Jones Jr. and rumor has it that he might just end up on this podcast to have a conversation with All Alpha. Let's hope that works out. Cross your fingers. But folks, Neutronix Labs, man's edge testosterone booster. You've heard me saying it for the last couple of weeks since we got the news. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is having every male in our military, active or reserve, over the age of 30 get their levels to get the test to see where their T levels are at. Why? Because it's important. This country has gone soft. If you haven't been paying attention to some of the social media, you know who's not soft? You guys and this guy. So again, when you go to neutronixlabs.com and you put in promo code alpha, you're going to get this with the auto subscription. You're going to get this 50% off. Now that alone is a solid deal, but it's not the end of the deal, folks, because when you do that and use that promo code, they're going to throw in this bottle right here, IGF-1, the 300,000 nanogram. This is the one that also has the anti-aging stuff with it. Is going to come in absolutely free, frizzo free. I'm so pumped up tonight. And when you try this stuff and you're like, damn, Alpha wasn't lying. This stuff is good. It's helping improve my sleep. It's helping me lose weight. It's helping me build muscle. It's helping with my joints. It's not getting rid. It's helping me combat my stress levels to get rid of cortisol. It's going to boost my energy and the libido. You'd be like, I want some more. then you're going to go and you're going to get Maximus. That's the 1 million nanograms. And then when you're going to take it to the next level, like me, because these bad boys ain't filtered, you're going to get this stack right here. You're going to do the 1 million with the 300,000 on top of the man's edge. And you're going to be feeling like a damn champ. You're going to be feeling like Rocky Balboa when he's doing this thing right here. And guess what, folks? It's all from God's Pharmacy. You're not getting that nasty GLP stuff put into your body. You're not getting the synthetic nastiness that's destroying your liver and your kidneys into your body. This stuff, God's Pharmacy. So again, folks, neutronics.labs.com/alpha for 50% off with auto ship and a platinum bottle of the IGF-1 completely free of charge. Plus, you'll get an extra, that's right, extra 10% off when you use code alpha. I didn't see who's, okay. Kathy Amidon, her 39th birthday is tomorrow. So happy birthday, Kathy, from all of us here on the AlphaWarrior Show. And you know what? Happy birthday to all the August birthdays, to include my little brother. And let's go ahead and take that QR code off the screen and let's get into tonight's show. Actually, hold on. We got one more amazing sponsor and then we're in tonight's show. We'll be back.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
I feel good tonight. Damn, I feel so good. Patience is a virtue, folks. Patience is a virtue. If you started the show tonight and you got the teaser trailer right after the music that I put out there for you, and I hope you guys enjoy that music. YouTube, you guys don't get the music because, well, you know the rules over there, right? So if you want to come in and get in that early playlist to hang out with everybody and just chit chat while the music's going on, you got to do that on Rumble. Nuke Mag, boom, 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 boom. Whole lot of booms. Speaker Mike Johnson, whether you like him or you don't, that was a solid video clip that he put out there. I wanted to share it with you. He says, America was founded on the idea that our rights come from God, not the government. And that couldn't be any more true. So again, I said, we're going to fly through this news segment to get into this stuff because we're on the clock. Ashley Zavala puts out just in. I mean, if California just couldn't get any more retarded, I'm fighting here, folks. I'm fighting, but damn, they're making it hard when you see all the winning going on over there in Florida and some of these other great states. But Ashley puts out just in, California approves new rules limiting what tires you can buy when it's time to replace them on your car. It's expected to eliminate 70% of tires currently sold in California in I'm guessing they meant by 2033. Tire makers and regulators are at odds over the impact on costs. Cadillac converters, right? Diesel exhaust fuel with the DEF, right? It's just everything. Listen, Californians, my people, my neighbors, listen, make phone calls, folks. Make phone calls. But it's my opinion that they are just wanting to make sure, and it looks like you guys aren't seeing what I'm seeing, so I must admit I shared this the wrong way. Damn it, Alpha, let's fix this and get this on the right way. There we go. Now we're back in the game. Rookie mistakes. Nobody told me about the banners. And I thought Alan was going to come out and tell me that I'm 5x5. And Alan hasn't came out and told me that I'm 5x5. Listen, folks, let's shake off the cobwebs. All right. Let's make sure tonight's show is successful. All right. That's important. And let's get our shit together. Right. Okay. I think we're good there. Rumble rants and super chats. I'll be reading those at the end of the show. So let's carry on. Next, Department of War Rapid Response puts out. This is important because the whole lot of propaganda. There's the 5x5s. There we go, folks. All right, we're awake. Good stuff. Right? It wasn't just you. It's my fault too, right? But Department of War Rapid Response. Donald Trump. There are no talks or conversations going on or scheduled with the Islamic Republic of Iran The naval blockade remains in full force and effect. The Hormuz Strait is open and operating. All water mines have been removed or detonated. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And if you want to know why that statement's so important, you're probably getting an idea if you went and read the Substack article that I dropped about 2 or 3 nights ago, The Power War, right? Part 1 of 3. And I'm going to be dropping part 2 tomorrow night. So again, you're going to be behind if you haven't read part 1. And it's free, folks. I think it's AlphaWarrior.substack.com. Let me see if I can check for you. Yes, AlphaWarrior.substack.com. That's where you go to find it, folks. It's free. Don't fall behind, because Article 2's drop in tomorrow, and I think it's gonna looks like it's gonna be a little bit longer, but not too bad. Let me get back onto my screen. Let's keep going. Brianna puts out sentence. A Chinese national received a 15-year prison sentence today and was ordered to forfeit $25 million for participating in a Chinese money laundering organization, CMLO, that handled more than $92 million in illegal funds, including proceeds from the importation and distribution of illicit drugs in the United States, mainly via Mexico. I would probably tell everybody, remember the Darien Gap, but not just the Darien Gap. He gathered drug trafficking proceeds from the U.S.-based traffickers and deposited the funds using both genuine and false identities into shell company bank accounts that other CMLO members had established. In that courier capacity, Liu personally collected and deposited more than $20 million in illicit bulk cash. He also functioned as a manager with the organization, coordinating directly with American drug traffickers and assigning other couriers to carry out bulk cash pickups and deposits. In addition, Liu obtained counterfeit driver's license for the couriers, which were used to deposit the illegal funds at major U.S. banks. Now, why is this so important, aside from the obvious? Because, folks, if you've been following this podcast, at least since Trump's inauguration in this Trump 2.0, aka 3.0 presidency, one of the things that I told you is that they're using military intelligence, they're using the DOJ, they're using your locals, your local cops, they're using everybody that's in this law enforcement intelligence community to target all the groups that came into this country for harm. This is evidence that not only was I right about this, but that they're being successful at it. Because again, listen to what we're talking about here. This was the guy being used to coordinate these drug traffickers. This was the guy being used to get the driver's license. If you got this guy, that means you got the vast majority of the network that was under him. If you got this guy, it's either because one of the lower guys ratted him out, or he got caught on a wire. Either way, it shows that the intelligence, it's actionable and that it's being successful. So folks, again, head on a swivel. I'm not saying there's no need for concern. Until we win completely, there is. But don't live in fear that when people say nothing's happening, this is a strong indicator that a lot is happening. I'd love to talk more on it, but we got to keep pushing on. Fox News. Breaking. A transgender woman, you heard that right, you're not shocked and you're not surprised. A transgender woman convicted of crimes tied to an attempted assassination of Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, that's our boy, is sentenced to 73 months in prison. Bessent previously revealed that he was targeted just 2 hours after being sworn into office, calling the case evidence of a real threat from violent left-wing extremism. Ryan Michael English traveled to Washington carrying a folding knife and 2 improvised Molotov cocktails before surrendering to Capitol Police, according to the Justice Department. Thank God that Scott is okay, his family's okay, and thank God that this guy was arrested, right? This transgender activist that the left that's anti-Trump doesn't ever want to acknowledge is a threat, but they absolutely are. But again, nothing's happening. Let's keep going, and hold on. I just want to make sure that you guys are solid over there on YouTube. Because I got, okay, it's probably this mic. I got feedback into my ear. I don't know if maybe you guys even heard it, but if you guys are watching on YouTube, just do me a solid. If you guys can drop me another set of 5x5s, just want to make sure you guys are still good over there. Give me 1 second, folks. 1 second. Just want to make sure everybody's good, because I want to make sure everybody gets a quality show no matter what platform they're on. So 626 Sue's had a phenomenal comment. with it on Rumble. I'm not going to repeat it just because I know people have their kids around during dinner time to watch the show. So I'm going to try to be very conscious of that. And the 5x5s are there. Okay, let's carry on, folks. Eric Dowdery puts out, holy smokes, a bombshell report just found that Michigan Senate candidate Ab Mohammed al-Said's mom worked for a terror organization that gave direct financial support to Osama bin Laden, Taliban, and Hamas. According to the Midwesterner, Fatin Alqumi worked for the Islamic American Relief Agency and it funded terrorists. This is insane. Damn right, it's insane. Elect Mike Rogers, Republican. Trump is right. We have jihadists rising across America and it has to be stopped. This is crazy news if it's as accurate as a lot of people are putting it out to be. But nonetheless, let's take a listen to Trump, not specifically on this issue, but the jihadist issue that is a real concern.
They're putting forward making life easier for
Well, the one thing is we have jihadists being elected all over the place. We have this, whether it's communism, jihadism. It's a lot of, a friend of mine called up. He said, really, you should use the word jihadist because that's what's happening. And I'm not sure that anybody, if you take a look at what happens in other countries, I think that's not going to be necessarily the way we want to live. But when you look at the radicalism and the craziness of the candidates and the stupidity of what they're suggesting, let's get rid of the Supreme Court, let's get rid of the presidency, let's get rid of the Senate. They want to get, sometimes I'd like to get rid of the Senate too, but I don't say it, and I wouldn't do it. But, they want to get rid of the Senate. They want to get rid of, ideally, the House, but they're thinking about maybe keeping the House. Isn't that nice? These are people that have been not successful. They're people that have been, in many cases, failures. They come from other failed countries, and they come here and they tell us how to run our country. They come from places like, I won't mention because I don't want to get myself into a controversy, but they come from countries that are not great. They come from, let's say, as an example, Somalia. They come in and then they tell us how our Constitution, how our Declaration of Independence, how it works. It doesn't work that way, and they're not smart. They have no aptitude. They have nothing going, and they're telling us how to run our country. And I just don't think it's going to happen. I think that they start off, now I may be wrong, but they start off with a big disadvantage. People don't want to have rights.
We know you ain't wrong, Trump. Let's keep pushing on. We're rapid fire tonight, folks. Listen, respect what Kyle pulled off, what he did. The guy earned the outcome that he got in court. That aside, he's gone full retard. What am I talking about? Here's just a small sample of the retardness that Kyle Rittenhouse has been putting out there. Vote for Fishback today. We're going to get into that, folks, right? Listen to what I'm saying here and think about things I mentioned a couple months ago. And again, more information will be delivered, but pay very close attention to what I'm about to read. Let me scroll down. So I quote posted Mr. Kyle Rittenhouse, and this is what I said. Hey, Kyle, and I tagged him. Was one of your attorneys meeting with influencers? Influencers who now have an anti-Trump agenda prior to Trump's inauguration? Does Massey know? What was the purpose of those get-togethers? To be continued. Let's keep going. I hope you guys are catching what I'm putting down. This brings us up to Seth Dillon update. You're not going to be shocked by any of this. Tucker Carlson, James Fishback is running for governor in Florida. Pretty soon, all winning Republican politicians will. Sneeko, right? The other sicko pedo Islamic extremist, whatever the hell that guy is. Fishback for Florida. Nick Fuentes, vote for James Fishback tomorrow. Alex Jones, Fishback for president. Florida gubernatorial candidate James Fishback unveils his powerful Owen Schroyer. What a disappointment. Fishback rallies are the new Trump rallies. Incredible night at sea to table in Naples. So as fake MAGA infiltrators went, and thank you for putting that out there on that update, Seth. Then we get the next guy to go full retard, right? You guys saw him on this show. Respect what he was doing way back in the day, a few years ago for the kids. But as I see it now, this was just the deep state apparatus using something like the kids to develop a rapport with us, develop trust with us. So we would follow them build them a platform so that they could deliver their ultimate goal, which is this: come after Trump and come after Trump's people. Ryan Matta puts out, if President Trump just disavowed Byron Donalds during election week, then those sex trafficking charges against Byron Donalds must be very real and very serious. Now, what are we talking about here? Folks, what you're looking at here, and you better be very careful if you're on social media, there's a lot of this going around. He puts this screenshot: attention Florida voters and boomers. So boomers specifically being targeted here, as well as Florida voters. After careful thought, and again, folks, I want to start off by saying what I'm about to read is fake. This is not a real Trump post. This is fabricated. This is a fraud post. I'll repeat this when I'm done reading it. Here's the fake post. After careful thought and looking at the real facts, I am switching my complete and total endorsement from drug-dealing Donalds to James Fishback. Byron is a nice guy, but Florida needs a fighter who isn't afraid of the special interests, the data centers, the big money, or the radical left. James Fishback is young, tough, smart, and 100% America first. He gets it. He loves Florida the way it used to be and the way it should stay. Florida is full. The people know it. James knows it. James Fishback has my complete and total endorsement for governor of the great state of Florida. He will be tremendous governor and will never let you down. Vote James Fishback. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, again, community notes came in here after a bunch of us went and put a thing. I have tagged the FBI, the DOJ, as well as some other people with this post because this is possibly, in my opinion, criminal. This is election interference, especially if there's funding behind it, because Ryan wasn't the only person to put this out there. But again, folks, they didn't even realize the golden goose egg they gave us here. Do you guys realize what Ryan Matta and all the anti-Trumpers are saying here? Let me break it down for you. They're saying that Trump endorsed Fish. Why? Because what they're saying is you got to have Trump's support to win. What they're saying is that they understand that Trump is the man. So in their attempts to push propaganda and do election interference, they also acknowledge what we have all said. Trump is the winning hand. You're welcome. Let's keep going because we're not done. How did it actually turn out over there? Here we go. Trump endorsed Rep. Byron Donalds easily wins Florida GOP gubernatorial primary. Shout out to you right there. Byron, congratulations to you and your wife. AF Post puts out, Rep. Randy Fine predictably won Florida's 6th congressional district GOP primary with over 50% of the vote. Incredibly, Dan Bilzerian won nearly 20%, which actually shocked about that, of the vote despite hardly campaigning. This is most likely due to Fine's unpopularity. Now, granted, I do not like Randy Fine, right? But again, all the anti-Trump, all the jihadist supporters, all of them got their asses kicked today in Florida, folks. So again, when people tell you nothing's happening, just know that real MAGA, real America first, real conservatives, real Republicans are kicking the shit out of all the frauds. Benny Johnson, let's shift gears here. Breaking, this is big news, folks, and we'll cover this in depth. If we don't do it later this week, for sure, I'll be committed to covering this way more in depth come next Monday on Just Alpha. Dr. Fauci's former senior advisor, David Morens, just pled guilty to charges connected to concealing and destroying federal records during COVID-19. Morens back-channeled using a private Gmail account, where have you heard that before, instead of his official NIH email to intentionally hide communications. He then was caught destroying federal records to evade FOIA. Time to charge Fauci next. Now, CanCon, if you're listening, I believe I said that was a crime that we're going to see them come for Fauci with. And now we have a witness to that. Folks, this is a big deal. You guys have heard me repeatedly talk about we're approaching the choke point, the fatal funnel for the deep state. This is a major move to show that we are very, very close to that, folks. Let me tell you what this means. Morin has dimed out Fauci. That's what this means. His plea to guilty means he got a deal. Remember I told you when you see these cases and these indictments brought up and they come to a quick resolution, what does that translate into? Cooperation with the DOJ. That's what this means. Fauci is fucked. Okay, understand that. So again, when people tell you nothing's happening, folks, I hope you are ready to celebrate what is coming down the pipeline. And just to get a little bit more details into this, this comes from FBI Cash today. After an FBI investigation with our DOJ partners, Dr. Fauci's associate, okay, notice he didn't just say David Morans. This is important, folks. Dr. Fauci's associate, David Morans, just pled guilty to conspiracy in a scheme to avoid FOIA requests and the Federal Records Act connected to COVID-19 research grants. The FBI uncovered that Morans, co-conspirator number 1, co-conspirator number 2, and others conspired during the COVID pandemic to defraud the United States after the National Institutes of Health terminated co-conspirator 1's grants. Now, why is this important? Listen to what Cash put out here. Dr. Fauci's associate. So this way we have the area of operation for David Morans. Then we come down. It's established that it's during COVID-19. It's with grants. So we're looking at financial crimes here as well. But here's the other part that's important. He puts Morans, co-conspirator 1, co-conspirator 2, and others. Why? Because when you have more than 2 and you have 2 or 3 or a larger group all collaborating together, that's conspiracy. That's going to tie into RICO. That's going to tie into a criminal enterprise. Okay? I told you, folks. I told you. And I know some of you know. NIH terminated the grant, quote, understanding the risk of bat coronavirus emergence, end of quote, based on allegations that COVID-19 emerged from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, in Wuhan, China. Mr. Morans and his co-conspirators then agreed in writing to intentionally hide their communications from public view by corresponding through Morans' personal Gmail account rather than his official NIH email account. The FBI investigation remains ongoing. No one is above the law. DKP. Now, this part is my speculation, but I think I'm going to be pretty close to the money shot on this. The fact that this investigation is ongoing, but they went and brought the charges against Morans, what it tells me is they had so much stacked against them. Again, written communication, so we have hard evidence. They had so much stacked against them that they were willing to throw the risk of charging him, knowing that if he didn't go with it and he wanted to go to trial on this, that was really going to start complicating and jeopardizing the ongoing investigation, which they have, which is what I've been talking about for quite some time now. So the fact that they went and wagered and rolled the dice on that tells me that's how much solid evidence that they had, that not only did they know they had a court case, they had a solid 2,000% conviction on this guy. They knew that he was going to plea. There is so much evidence right now against these mother effers that they knew they were going to get this guy to plea. That tells me Fauci's fooked. That's what that tells me. I said fooked for those that had the kids around. All right. Don't get on me. Now let's shift gears and let's get into this Candace part because I'm looking at the clock and I want to do this solid. So again, if you guys are unaware, quick background on this backstory is you have, God, I can't think of his name from the whatever podcast. And you have Andrew that came out, made these financial offers to get a debate with Candace against Andrew or vice versa, however you want to say it. I think it started off with like 50,000 and then it went to like 150,000. Ultimately got to $300,000 offer that was made to Candace to debate this guy, Andrew. It happened, which that alone was to my surprise. However, I was right about her saying that she was going to do it on her terms inside her, her building because she can control all that. So that part I was right about, but she actually went through with it. So greed is, I guess, worked out for us in this case. But if any of you were on the fence prior to this, you were like, well, maybe Candace is onto something, and you still hold that position right now, there's two thoughts I have. Either you're absolutely retarded. I love you, but you're absolutely retarded. Or two, you're an agent. Like there's just no other way to break this down. And again, for those that make the argument, Andrew didn't even know all the charges. I don't care. I don't care that if you want to qualify him as an expert in the case or not, he exposed the grift and he had enough working knowledge of the case to do that. That's all that matters. I don't need him to be I don't need him to have the level of knowledge I have or some of you have. Mission was accomplished. So here we go, and we'll start on this first clip. Kanoka the Great. Charlie Kirk texts his security team the day before he was killed. I'm somewhat worried that the left is trying to kill me. Charlie Kirk 9925. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. Now, I want to talk about this one, but I want to play the clip first. So here we go, because we're in a clip-heavy section here.
Doesn't like a good, fun conspiracy theory. I like them. But there is no evidence that Israel actually killed Charlie Kirk. And if Candace has some, I'd like her to actually show it to me. I'm open to suggestions, but to date, there hasn't been any. There is, however, tons of evidence that a leftist killed Charlie Kirk, just as Charlie feared they would. I believe Charlie Kirk, and I have the receipts. No, I didn't have a dream where he came to me and told me that the left killed him. No, he didn't come to me a dream and say, Candace Owens betrayed him. That never happened. In fact, I don't need dreams of any kind because I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to his security team on September 9th, 2025. I'm going to share the message with you today, which is the first time this information's ever been publicly revealed. On September 9th, Charlie's security team wrote to him, yes, law enforcement has been fully supportive and agreed to a security plan and posture. Tomorrow's event will be covered by both my team and the campus PD. If additional support is required, patrol units will be available. I have 11 on site. Charlie responded with this, okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent September 9th. Whatever could he have meant by that? Well, I think he meant exactly what he said, that he was worried the left was going to try to kill him. Now, we'll discuss this more later on in the debate, and maybe I have more never-before-seen evidence that exposes just how wrong and, in my opinion, idiotic many of these conspiracy theories have been.
So, now a lot of people countered this and, well, Erica Kirk came out and she said that she has Charlie's phone and there was no text messages in there. And then a lot of people are like, oh, so Andrew must be lying about this. But they didn't provide the full context. Text messages. Again, this was not a conversation that left out Discord chats, email chats, Signal chats. And so this particular conversation, as I understand it, is on one of those types of chats. So again, Erica wasn't lying, Andrew wasn't lying, but there's a difference of stuff that's going on here. As I understand it, again, when we get to trial, even though we're not going to trial because he'll plead before then, when we get to trial, this is where we'd get that confirmation. But nonetheless, this is devastating evidence. This is a kill shot, right? No pun intended, sorry. Right out of the gate against Candace and all her simps, because they're trying to say, well, what was it, weeks ago or a month ago, he had this issue with Israel. So this is the day before. And if you come from a world like me, who actually was a cop, actually was a detective, actually worked homicides, actually arrested people, actually interviewed and interrogated people. If you come from that world, that MO that early, as in within a 24-hour window, that is significant to motive. Let's carry on, because like I said, I want you guys to hear these clips. I'll try to keep my commentary to a minimum. She thinks freely. Wait, what? Someone's going to get in trouble with this one, folks. What is she talking about? Joe Kent noted that there were 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground that day. Did Candace Owens just admit that Joe Kent was the source of the anonymous leaks regarding Israeli cell phones on UVU campus? Sure as heck sounds that way. I've yet to find Joe Kent ever making that claim publicly, because he didn't. So how does Candace Owens know it came from Kent? I think we know the answer. I think she just accidentally identified Mel's anonymous administration source. LOL. Here's the part where I disagree with she thinks freely. It wasn't an accident, she thinks freely. Candace did this debate in order to secure her arguments when the defamation lawsuits come down the pipeline, folks. She threw Joe Kent under the bus. So this way, Andrew Colvett, Erica Kirk, and all of them be like, oh, this is where it came from. She knew she was going to look like a moron in this debate. But guess what? Candace don't care about looking like a moron so long as she gets to hang on to the millions she grifted against Charlie Kirk's death. Leaking this implication of Joe Kent was not an accident. Take a listen.
And other
Israel.
than intuition, how you feel about things, do you have any evidence Israel was involved in killing Charlie Kirk?
I have already said, and if you're watching my show and the context of what I said, this is the general sense of why people think Israel's involved. Nobody has made the claim that Israelis, there were also, obviously
Ian
Joe
Carroll
Kent.
made the claim.
Well, Joe Kent, who I think would have the right to assert it, noted that there were 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground that day. I think most people would like to probe that. Now, it could be maybe they were students, and they were Israeli students in Utah that day.
Oh, looks like someone's going to be getting investigated. I believe he already was, but it's okay. Let's keep going. Kanoka the Great bringing it back. Breaking. Candace Owens demands a fact check, then accidentally fact checks herself with Tyler Robinson's own admission. Rather than read it to you, let me just let you listen. This was one of my favorites during the whole debate.
How are you able to infer off of blurry staircase images that is Tyler Robinson?
Yeah, so in that particular case, what you do is you take that evidence, you combine it with other evidence. So it's not just that Tyler Robinson is seen in the staircase.
Why are you calling him Tyler Robinson in the staircase? That's what I want to get to.
Yeah, because, we'll just use this. If you don't agree that that's Tyler Robinson, then you would just have to humor me. I think it is, so I'm using the name.
But why do you think it is? Because you make everybody, you call them
literally
conspiracy
what I'm trying
theorists.
to explain to you.
Okay.
So if you're asking for my inference why I think it's Tyler Robinson, is because Tyler Robinson said in his text messages, you'll be able to see me on security footage at the campus. Said it in his own messages. On top of that, Twigs, yes, you can pull them up if you want to fact check that. He did say.
I would. I'm sorry. I actually think I really did miss that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't remember him saying you're going to see me in.
I'm paraphrasing, but it was close to it.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
by the
not
way,
right.
Twigs himself said that he had some
on the staircase.
that he had some maybe a tiny bit of doubt, but it sure looked like Tyler Robinson inside of this various surveillance footage that he saw.
So Lance, sorry.
Hang on.
Right.
So there's multiple reasons why it is that I believe that that's Tyler Robinson, not just because of blurry footage.
Did you have a dream? Just kidding.
No, it's because I combined multitudes of evidences.
Okay, so let's address those multitude of evidences. The first one we're working on a fact check on, because I do not ever remember him tweeting. That's me in the stair. Or
he didn't tweet it.
Texting that's me in the staircase. I think that I didn't
say that. I said I literally didn't. What I said is that he texted over, "You'll be able to see me in footage at UVU," and I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said.
Yeah, could we get a fact check on that?
First, go to what Candace is asking about Skylar. I think you have it. You just text me if you want to pull it up. You said you have the text. If we can put that up on the screen, thank you.
It was me. Look at the pictures from the surveillance footage. It was me. Okay. I literally said to you, it's not an oof. I said I didn't remember this, and I'm happy to have a fact check on that. Okay. I didn't call for the fact check saying you're wrong. I literally said I don't remember that from the
text
messages.
I'm just saying to you, I'm trying to be concise for you.
And then also bring the 801 that.
Oof. Oof. That goes for some of you in the chat that are still Candace Sims. She was so mad. It's not an oof. I said, listen, for all you Candace Sims that are like, Andrew Wilson didn't even know the charges. Candace Owens didn't even know one of the self-implications that was said by Tyler Robinson, one of the most important things that was talked about in the prelim. So forgive me if I think you're all full of shit when you would say, well, Andrew Wilson didn't know the charges. She didn't know one of the most critical details of self-incrimination that came from Tyler Robinson. But let's carry on. Oof, just one more time. She was kind of hammering on him right there. Well, how do you know it was him in the staircase, right? Because they want to create this doubt, because they always try to choose the worst images and capitalize on that, right? So let's bring it to Andrew Colbert. This is an important point for those who say that the surveillance footage doesn't look like Tyler Robinson. On the Discord chat, his own friends thought the surveillance images looked like him. Tyler acknowledged they looked like him by saying it was his doppelganger getting him in trouble. They even joked about turning him in for the reward money. Eventually, he confessed to the entire group that it was him. Quote, look at the photos from the surveillance footage. It was me. End of quote. Next quote. Look at the pictures from the surveillance footage. It was me. I'm serious. End of quote. Next quote. Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this. End of quote. That's not to mention his own parents ID'd him from the surveillance footage, and Lance Twiggs is on video saying the stills taken from the footage look like him, especially the last two images, which is when he was walking with a limp due to an object reasonably inferred as a gun, rifle, stuffed down a pant leg. Another small detail people don't often remember is that a previous coworker told the Washington Post that Robinson would often walk with his fists locked, a strange quirk, but visible in the bottom button. Let me play this for you guys.
Here on the screen, you see these, looks like there's 2 rows of 3 images. Do you recognize the person in these images?
I wouldn't say it with 100% certainty just because of camera quality, but that looks like him in terms of the shoes he's wearing, the sunglasses. I don't think I'd specifically seen him wearing that hat, but he was usually wearing a hat, and then jeans, so it definitely, especially the bottom, the last 2, definitely do look like him. They do look like Tyler Robinson.
Folks, just for some of you that don't understand, surveillance footage, right? CCTV footage, the ammo or what's left of the ammo, that's not hearsay, folks. Okay. Because when Candace was saying the entire thing was hearsay, no, it wasn't. And again, it was a prelim. But let's just keep going because I want to cover this section for you guys. Bring it to the Viva Frey. I like Viva. This is absolutely shocking. After all the crap about the receipt that would have proved Tyler Robinson had dinner at Cowboy Steakhouse at 9:55 p.m., which would make it impossible for him to be at Orem for 11 o'clock. After all the crap I took for asking the right questions to verify the credibility of that story and rightly calling it into question, especially based on the video statement of the faceless anonymous waiter, Candace now finally admits they have not, in fact, tied that receipt to Tyler Robinson. But she'll update her timeline if it turns out to be false. After she built a timeline, an unproven and highly questionable fact, after she had misled millions of people into thinking the timeline could not possibly make sense, including some of you in my chat, except nobody has actually yet matched the debit card number to Tyler Robinson's account. Holy cow. Just like I said when this retardness came out. Let's take a listen to this one. Thank you, Viva.
My other question is about the steakhouse receipt.
You just said that you were done asking all your questions.
So nothing there.
Do you have the steakhouse receipts? My question.
I have said several times that I have never said I have the receipt for the steakhouse. I have said the person who's working on that story is going to be forthcoming with the receipt. And that was what I was responding to. And he then dropped the receipt. He redacted elements of it. And I said, stay tuned. He's the one working on that story.
Okay. So you haven't actually confirmed that Robinson was at that steakhouse.
All I did, as I said earlier in this conversation, was I spoke to the owner when I broke that story. I think it was back in January. I spoke to the owner, understood what had happened, and that there was a receipt. That's it. That's the extent of what I shared is what happened.
Okay. So to be clear, there's no receipt.
I just said the opposite. I said there is a receipt.
Well, you don't have a copy of the receipt.
The receipt was published online.
Yeah, right. With blurred out.
The person working on this story.
Yeah.
That blurred that out is what I was referring to when I said stay tuned and keep following his stuff, because he went to go do what I hadn't done, which was he interviewed the actual server.
So there's no evidence that Tyler was at that steakhouse?
I would say the receipt with his debit card number, it would be some hard evidence if that
I agree with that.
Yeah, so that's it. But you're questioning me.
But is there, as of right now...
He paid, if you're asking me, did he pay with a credit or debit card? The answer is yes.
No. Is there proof that that was actually his debit card that he paid with?
I think you should follow the person that is behind that story.
Well, the reason I'm asking you is because you always include it in your timeline that he traveled to the steakhouse.
Yeah, we've been building a timeline with things that we feel are
But is there any actual
Utah
evidence?
1102 approved. I think speaking to the owner, knowing that there's a receipt, seeing the receipt is good enough to put on our timeline.
But the receipt itself, the question I always had about it is, couldn't you just call the merchant? Like if I've ever had a merchant account, I just call the merchant account processor and say, what's the name on this?
Yeah, I would stay tuned. I feel that having spoken to the owner, that the evidence is compelling enough to put onto my personal timeline of what took place on that day. That's where it's going to stay. And if it gets debunked, I'm happy to take it off. If that's what you mean, that's how an investigation works. Like I said, did more than enough, it would definitely pass the test by the Utah 1102 rule, for sure, for certain.
To be submitted as hearsay.
Well, yeah, beyond that, because they didn't even have receipts. They were like, Bob told me this.
But the question is, the receipt itself, it has not been verified to have been Tyler
Yeah, I
Robinson's,
just want to say you're holding me to a higher standard than you are.
I'm not even holding it. I'm just
prosecution.
asking specifically.
Yeah, I've been very forthcoming. I've told exactly what happened. I spoke to the owner. I got the tip. And
so should that be added in an official timeline that you give?
It's in my timeline. It's my show, and we can add and subtract what we want, and we do. If
you
we get
can do
something
what you
wrong,
want, sure. But I'm
I just wanted to
asking,
make sure.
Should you include a thing that you know hasn't actually been verified to be Tyler Robinson's?
Yes, you should. If we're trying to build a timeline, you should. Yeah.
You don't think that falls
under... And then
under...
you should remove it if someone somehow debunks it. But I think that there is very strong evidence that is where he was, and that
What's the strong evidence? Just the two people who said that they saw him?
You know, I'm actually all good with being. I feel like I've sufficiently answered your question about how I got the information, what happened next. Would the next stage of this investigation being somebody accessing knowing what his debit card was and confirming it? Yes, and I do believe that will happen. If it does not happen and it gets debunked, I'll remove it from my personal timeline that I share on my show.
Just answer the question and say, I don't have the receipt and I can't verify it. That's a whole lot of word salad to come out. Now, here's the problem. You see this a lot on social media. A lot of people like to make judgments and opinions off shit that people tell them, because people say, I have the receipts, and people say, oh, well, they're saying they have the receipts, then they must be telling the truth, or they must be providing the full context. And then they go out and say some things that in court are considered defamation. So again, if you're going to make an opinion on receipts like Miss Candace here, you might want to verify that receipt before you put your name and business behind it. That applies to a lot more people than just Candace. If you catch my drift, let's keep going. Kanoka the Great, again, because he put out a bunch of good ones. Andrew, you've stated multiple times that you believe Israel is involved in the death of Charlie Kirk. Do you have any positive evidence that Israel killed Charlie Kirk? Well, what do you think she said here?
And so before we wrap up, final thoughts, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, she had nothing. Just nothing. For all of her claims of Patsy, nothing. She didn't have a single claim. She didn't have a single solid piece of evidence. She had no positive evidence Israel's involved in anything. No positive evidence that France is involved in anything. No positive evidence TPUSA is involved in anything. No positive evidence that Erica Kirk is involved in anything. When I asked her about her claims about Erica Kirk, yeah, it's just funning. It's just funning, you know? Or, yeah, I do think that she needs to sit down and ask some questions, or answer some questions. But you know what? I don't even know if she has. Like, maybe she has. I have no idea. Yes, I'm going to have an official timeline with unconfirmed evidence. That's just fine. Hey, it's hearsay. If that's good enough for the state, it's good enough for me. But my biggest problem with the state is that they're admitting all this hearsay. It's like she's a contradiction machine. On top of all of this, the thing that I wanted to get out of this more than anything else was to just demonstrate one thing. Yes, it's true. I'm not perfect on the case. I'm not going to ever pretend that I am, and never did. But what has been made very clear to me is that there's nobody with an alternative theory that has any evidence for it at all. None. Zero. And the continuous kind of expression, we're running an investigation. What kind of investigation builds a timeline out on a receipt that they don't even confirm? What kind of investigation tries to make these bold claims that Israel's involved and France is involved and all these different players are involved and never shows any evidence? We're just asking questions. It's again, like I said in my opening, it's always intuition, my feelings, how I feel about things, how I think about things. Andrew, how many times do you hear this today? Andrew, you can't tell me how I'm supposed to think. Yeah, nobody's trying to tell you how to think. But you should rationally come to your conclusions based on evidence and facts. And the truth is that 90% of what you're saying is simply intuition based. It came to me in a dream. It's intuition. Almost none of it has any evidence at all. Just, I'm skeptical because these people over here said things, and that makes me skeptical. It's like, but no evidence. Note this to the audience, to everybody watching. You might hate my guts. That's fair enough. I get that. I'm not the most likable man. I understand that too. But there was nothing. I mean, no evidence at all that Tyler Robinson was a patsy that was ever put forward by Candace this entire debate. Now, maybe you could say that we stalemated when it came to whether or not Robinson did it. She says, I found the evidence convincing, or unconvincing. Andrew says he found the evidence convincing. Okay, fair enough. Maybe you can't do too much about that, but there was nothing. She had nothing for Robinson being a patsy, nothing for any of her conspiracies, not a zero, zilch, and she backed away on a bunch of them. This is the first time I think she's ever really backed away from the Twigs thing. First time I've heard her back away from the Erica thing, back away from TPUSA, being very cautious about making any of those claims now, whereas on her show, much more likely to be making those claims. So she just had nothing the entire debate. Zero.
Candace.
For the audience, listen, I get it. The simps come out and they come in the chats. Take that as affirmation that they got to do damage control. But guess what? No matter what the simps in the chat say to try to support Candace, your eyes and your ears got to hear Candace speak. And he was right. Now, again, that was actually the closing clip for Candace. I still want to play the Israel one because these are important. So let's take it back and not only play this one for you. Again, the question here, you've stated multiple times that you believe Israel is involved in the death of Charlie Kirk. Do you have any positive evidence that Israel killed Charlie Kirk? So let me just make sure I play the correct one this time with the 348 timestamp. And here we go.
Exactly
I'm not
as I
trying to
received
embarrass
it.
you. I just want to make sure that I get your positions clear.
I have not said, yeah, go ahead.
And now you have stated multiple times that you believe that Israel's involved in the death of Charlie Kirk.
Can you give me...
Yes, we can pull up the clip. I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
Can I finish the sentence?
Go ahead.
Can you give me the context for what are you talking about? Like when I say, generally speaking, why people think that Israel's involved?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where's your question?
Yeah. Do you have any positive evidence whatsoever that Israel killed Charlie Kirk?
Well, I couldn't say Israel was on the ground and shot and killed Charlie Kirk. I would say that there are various things that we're trying to establish, one being a motive. And since I don't believe that Tyler Robinson and his transferee is a convincing motive because he was fired up about politics, which Lance testified that he never spoke about with him, nor do I believe that he was, so into LGBTQ issues, since Lance testified they never spoke about LGBTQ issues, that he stopped and ate at Chick-fil-A, which if you are into LGBTQ issues, wouldn't be your lunch before you go kill Charlie Kirk for LGBTQ issues, because,
Yeah, but do you have positive evidence?
I'm answering the question as I feel like I want to answer it. Like I said, you don't get to for an hour and a half.
But the question I'm asking is about positive evidence.
I'm telling you that in any case, establishing a motive and and again, I already explained this at the top of the show, but the reason why people find Israel to be an interesting question is because truthfully, Charlie's perspectives were changing on Israel.
Sure.
And he was starting to realize how much pressure was being put on not just our government to constantly fight their wars, but also being put on his organization personally. If people had come out and been honest about that, rather than rabid claiming he never flinched and everybody's lying and this is not true, you would probably have people that just go, that's life. People change their opinions.
I understand.
And then there was the rabid, not even that. It's like everything was about trying to convince the public how much he liked it.
So then other than intuition, how you feel about things, do you have any evidence Israel was involved in killing Charlie Kirk?
I have already said, and if you're watching my show and the context of what I said, this is the general sense of why people think Israel's involved. Nobody has made the claim that Israelis, there were also, obviously
Ian
Joe
Carroll
Kent.
made the claim.
Well, Joe Kent, who I think would have the right to assert it, noted that there were 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground that day. I think most people would like to probe that. Now, it could be maybe they were students, and they were Israeli students in Utah that day. But we'd like to probe that narrative because what we've seen after coming from the Israeli government, the Israeli prime minister, kind of denying that he did it, which wasn't really necessary. He was quite busy. The phone call that happened, which no one wants to discuss in the Hamptons the week prior, or not the week prior, I think it was around August 5th or 6th that took place. And again, the almost desperate lies about Charlie shifting opinion on Israel lead us to believe that there could be an Israeli angle in this. But we cannot say for certainty that Israel the shots and this is how it happened. But it is definitively, I think, a thread that a lot of us would like to see
there's no
pulled.
positive evidence.
Whatever you want to say, however positive, negative, however you want to say it.
Well, like positive evidence
I can just
would
have
be
a conversation.
material evidence and other evidences, which would
what
point
we've said
you to
is on our show is what we said, which is this feels like a conspiracy building. There's no reason to lie about these things, and yet people are lying. BB ain't acting right. The Hamptons thing was weird, and the way they tried to shove the Israel narrative down our throat immediately. I mean, the day he died, posting a picture of him with an American and Israeli AI'd photo on the president's feed doesn't feel right.
Well, you saw the evidence on the screen. You heard it with your own ears, folks. I never said that. Yeah. Okay. And then finally, to close up this segment, because you guys are all so entertained by it, Jen, the producer, puts, we all know what she's doing. Pay attention very close here, folks, because this is serious. She's inciting her audience to kick in people's doors. In the same episode, she docks people yesterday. At what point is this vile creature to be investigated? Conspiracy to dox, harass, violate HIPAA, stalk, and now B&E? She's going to get someone killed. Now, for those of you that have been watching my podcasts for some time, you know, I've described this concern that I've had with people like Tucker and all that. If I got the weirdos in my small platform, imagine the volume of weirdos and extremists these people have in their platform. So when you look at Candace Owens's post right here, all right, 8/11/26, 11:28 a.m. Dane Cook, funny comedian. He puts B&E. For anybody that's seen Dane Cook's stand-up comedy, you know B&E is breaking and entering, right, from his skit. She comments, okay, this just made me, let me click on it so y'all can see it. This just made me so happy. Now let's go to this post. And then she quote posts it, B&E. This is just amazing. Smile plastered on my face right now. If you know, you know. Folks, that's the kind of stuff that she provides herself a defense, criminally and civilly. But when you zoom out and you look at the repeated behavior, the pattern of behavior here, all you need is a solid district attorney that's going to be like, you know what, enough's enough. My personal opinion, I think it's already in the process, especially with some other people that have collaborated with her. And I think money's being tracked to make sure the entire organization, but let's just say that's just a hunch. All right, folks, let's get into the last part. We'll fly through this as well because we're down to less than 26 minutes before it's DEF CON showtime. General Flynn puts out the eyes pointing down. All that operate in the shadows must be brought into the light. Otherwise, we fail. I got to play this clip because it kind of sets up the conversation we're about to go through.
How did the American shadow government come into existence? First, you have to understand what that shadow government is. It's a loose-knit collection of constantly warring factions within the American intelligence community, chiefly led by the CIA, the NSA, the Army, Navy, and Air Force intelligence. These groups have the true knowledge of what's really happening in the world. Do you think the media knows? No. Do you think even presidents know? Why should they? They're only there for 4 years, maybe 8, and then they're gone, and a new one has to be moved in and polished. No. Do you think if we had aliens, that they would tell the presidents about them? No. They don't have a need to know. So even presidents are given pablum as information by the intelligence services because the intelligence services are there until the people die. You never retire, and you know what's best for America if you are in one of America's intelligence services. Did we vote them in? Did we give them that power? No. But it is the power that they took. And how did this fucking happen? It happened in the 1950s, and Dwight Eisenhower warned us about this as he left office. The first president to go to war with the CIA. Well, he survived. The next president who went to war with the CIA, John F. Kennedy. We know what happened to him. No other president has challenged the CIA. Why would you? The CIA would view you as a national security risk if you did not do what they asked. End of story, and thanks for listening.
Interesting. Before we get into that, let me just address the clown in the chat that you guys know as I be the Dan. Alpha's saying, don't ask questions. When have I ever said that? When have any of you ever said that? This is what the retards that, like IB Dan, we know he's a retard, right? This is what the retards use to gaslight people to push their narrative. So you're saying don't ask questions? No, ask lots of questions. Question everything. Candace and you clowns don't ask questions. You make assertions. I suggest you go look at the difference. Because if you're going to make assertions and you got no evidence to support it, well, then you just look retarded. So, folks, again, the shadow government, loose knit collection. If you've watched Operation Gladio, you know this is one of the things at the core of it's not even a theory, it's reality. And when you have, again, the general, and we know the level of knowledge and the networking that the general has that points to this, that tells me, folks, we're kicking this into the next phase. So let's rush through this stuff. The skiff puts out former CIA director John Brennan not only ordered his CIA to fabricate evidence to frame Trump under Obama, but when Brennan was station chief in Saudi Arabia, he signed the visas for half of the terrorist hijackers from 9/11 to get into the United States. Shout out if you haven't seen it, Codex 9/11, Brad Zerbel, phenomenal film that goes into the details of this. I've seen a lot of great documentaries, but if you want to know the details on this particular part of the story, Codex 9/11, go watch it. I believe it's still free. Take a listen to this.
There's so much sketchy stuff about John Brennan. He was the station chief in Saudi Arabia and actually signed the visas for half of the terrorists that crashed the planes into the Twin Towers.
Well, yeah.
And then he comes to back to the U.S., and he ends up director of the CIA.
Lo and behold, in his passport is a visa to go to the United States of America, issued out of the American consulate in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
According to one recently released court filings, quote, the visas were issued to facilitate an operation run by the Saudis and the CIA spying operation. The station chief in Riyadh at the time was future CIA director John Brennan.
Osama bin Laden's death has not put to rest questions surrounding 28 pages withheld from a report about the terror attacks. Those pages continue to be a thorn in the side of the Obama administration, but as correspondent Kevin Cork reports tonight, there are more calls for the 28 pages to remain classified.
Uncorroborated, unvetted, and inaccurate. Just some of the words CIA Director John Brennan used over the weekend to describe the still top-secret 28 pages from the Congressional 9/11 report that some believe could shed light on possible Saudi support for some of the 9/11 hijackers. Even as the still classified remnants of the Congressional 9/11 review continue to cause political disruption for the White House.
Hiding the information as to the relationship between Saudi Arabia and the 9/11 hijackers has been the epitome of political disruption.
Bob Graham is the former chairman of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence.
The cover-up has gone beyond a cover-up and has now become aggressive deception. It's incredible that it would take over 13 years to review 28 pages.
Brennan said those 28 pages in question contain information that's both accurate and inaccurate. And he also added, interestingly, that he was quite puzzled that Graham and others are fighting so hard for their release.
Now we see that his fingerprints are all over Crossfire Hurricane. They lied to Congress, they lied to the American people, and they did it out of pure, sheer greed and lust for power. It's got to stop, and it's you and me and the American people that have got to stop it. It's not a representative. It is we, the people, have to take a stand.
Folks, if you don't see what's cooking on the horizon, you're missing out on so much joy. Paul Sperry breaking FBI affidavit for a search warrant in James Comey's presidential threat case reveals his wife, Patricia Comey, sent him a Google screenshot of a nonviolent definition of the term 86 2 minutes before Comey posted an alleged threat against President Trump, indicating some forethought in his posting could be construed as a threat. If you guys remember what I talked about when all this first happened, and again, I love my boy CanCon, he argued with me. I said, this is exactly what we're going to find out. I said, it's about what he knew and his knowledge of it when he committed the act. And you're going to see them try to adopt the civilian understanding definition of it, which is irrelevant because him as a director of the FBI who signed off on trainings, and I know that he signed off on these trainings because it's the agents that go under it, get that James Comey signature, like the one I have on one of the awards that's behind me on this green screen. There's no way for him to dodge this. And again, this does show forethought. It shows that he knew how it would be interpreted. So here's the part that's important. Whether people want to argue, well, it's how he meant it. And again, I agree that it's exactly how he meant it. But if you want to concede that argument, the important part is he knew how it would be interpreted when it comes to investigators. He's cooked, folks. Let's keep going because we are running out of time and I want to get to this part. It's important. MJ Truth, this is pretty fascinating. Scott Besant says George Soros crashed the U.S. market on election night 2016 and lost big against Trump. If you saw last night's show, I said you were going to hear something about Scott Besant that was going to make you take pause and be like, what the fork? Relax. I want you to remember what I said in last night's conversation. I'll summarize it really quick. If you're someone that subscribes to the idea that there's a military operation that is in play, call it Coup, call it whatever you want, and you believe that this operation's been in play for years, if not decades, then that means you have to understand the way undercover operations work. I've been a part of them. I've been in it. These are things, and I've never done the long-term ones that go on for years and years and years. I'm not saying that, but the concept still applies. You put these people in position from a very long time ago. You've seen some of these movies, especially when it comes to the mafias and the cartels. So just remember that as you hear Scott talk on this one, because I don't want you all panicking. Scott's bad. No, Scott is a beast.
We're in, ultimately, this debt hole that we're in. I would love to, let's talk a little bit more about behind that desk. I have been fascinated with you, your life, your career. One of the things that I think some people know about your career, if they don't, they're about to learn, is that you worked for a long time, 2 different stints, 15 years for George Soros. And there's a lot of people watching, I'm sure you know, Mr. Secretary, like, what? The secretary worked for George Soros? There's a lot of people, perhaps me included, that have a lot of doubts about this man. So I would ask you, what do we misunderstand about George Soros?
Well, a couple of things. You know, my job for him was working at the investment side, never on the foundation side, and those were kept very separate. And for my first stint, Mr. Soros was focused on bringing down the Iron Curtain and was very helpful in the collapse of the Soviet Union. After I had left the first time, sometime in the early 2000s, I don't know what happened. He got much more focused on domestic policy. He and I rarely talked about politics. We haven't spoken since just after President Trump was elected in 2016.
Haven't spoken in 10 years.
And I would tell you that we had a very robust discussion, and election night 2016 was one of the 3 best periods I've ever had for money making, because I thought President Trump was going to win. And I don't know if you remember, Will, but election night 2016, the market crashed. Market crashed, and that was one of the greatest buying opportunities of all time, because I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, this is the most pro-business president probably since Calvin Coolidge. And I later found out that George Soros was the one selling the market. He was crashing the market, lost several $1 billion that night, and myself and several others made a lot of money for our investors the next few weeks.
We have a couple minutes.
Why is this so important, folks? Because if you subscribe to this concept, this theory, like I do, this gives us a very educated analysis, very educated guess, right, of how long this operation's been in play. And I'll say part 2 or the 2.0 of this operation. I do believe this operation was deployed once, and it was deployed without success. Think JFK. And I think what we're seeing now is the successful version of that operation from what they took away and they learned from. So again, I think Scott Bessent's a good guy. I think he's been a good guy a long time. And I think his statement right now provides us an idea of how long this has actually been unfolding. You can let me know what you think in the comments. I was tripping on your guys' comments on the last couple of shows. I like it. John Solomon, let's get into this. It's all part of the coup, right? Operation Round River exposed. Today, the White House Government Transparency Task Force released documents newly declassified by President Trump that reveal a secret operation by the FBI and spy agencies to neutralize the Biden family corruption scandal during the 2020 election. Now, again, I want to take it back to right here, John McAfee. Think about what this video said. All right. Now let's bring it back to Operation Round River, and then we'll give it to John Solomon here to explain it a little bit more. He'll do it better than I will. So take a listen.
We delivered some new documents. That's right. The White House Government Transparency Task Force released the first documents from an FBI operation known as Round River. You're going to get to know this really well over the next several months. What is it? It was an effort to completely neutralize all the evidence the FBI had in its possession showing that there might be a corruption scandal engulfing the Biden family, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and the rest of them. We knew that the FBI already had, before the 2020 election, the laptop, right? What we didn't know is they had 14 informants providing derogatory evidence against Joe Biden and his family. But despite that evidence, that flow of evidence, despite the stuff I was reporting at the Hill newspaper at the time, a team of FBI analysts went around and started marking anybody and anything about Joe Biden as Russian disinformation, divided the world in two. If you were Bill Barr, Mike Pompeo, Senator Grassley, Senator Johnson, John Solomon, Greg Jarrett, Fox News, and you're asking questions about Hunter Biden, you were a conduit of Russian disinformation. And if you're Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, George Soros, you were a victim or a target of Russian disinformation. Now, be it that there was no evidence that this was a Russian op, they did it anyways. And then they went into those files of those 14 informants who were long-term informants, some of them serving the FBI all the way back to 2008, and they started putting notes in the file dismissing their reliability as Russian disinformation. They literally tampered with the potential for criminal prosecutions. That is the evidence we made public today from the Intelligence Committee. FBI Director Kash Patel acknowledging that he's very concerned by what Round River did. He's investigating it. And by the way, he made an incredible commitment today. He will release all the information in those 14 confidential human source files about Joe Biden. We're going to know everything the FBI knew about the Biden family that we were told was a conspiracy theory or Russian disinformation. It wasn't.
And relax, Huck Filler. Nobody is going to say, at least no one on this podcast is going to say Soros is a good guy. No, quite contrary. It looks like you're a little bit behind on the rest of the show, and that's okay. We were setting the the narrative for Scott. No, I think George Soros is an absolute demon. Again, you heard what John Solomon said. Short version of that, we're going to get into what Enoch put because it's a good post. Short version, anybody that was putting out information or providing a conduit for that information to come through was looked at as a Russian asset, as enemy number one to the country. And anybody that was on the receiving end of it, like the Biden administration, Hunter, all those guys, they were looked at as a victim, to include the news organization. So let's break down what Enoch said right here. Boom. John Solomon and the White House Government Transparency Task Force just dropped Operation Round River. Q had us following Solomon for years. We were trained. Follow the journalists who are actually digging. Solomon was one of them. His Ukraine Burisma reporting was the breadcrumb trail while the rest of the media ran cover. These declassified docs show that the FBI ran a full counterintelligence op to neutralize Biden family corruption scandal in 2020, taking their own confidential human sources, derogatory information on Joe and Hunter, and marking it Russian disinformation. And the 17 tapes, heck, like what you did there, the CHS, confidential human source, told the FBI that Zolowski Burisma recorded 17 conversations, 15 with Hunter, 2 with Joe Biden himself, about the bribes and the, quote, big guy. The FD 1023 form was real. Those tapes were the smoking gun they tried to bury. Round River was the op designed to make sure nobody looked too hard. Q told us the Ukraine story was key. Q told us to watch Solomon. Q told us to see the pattern. Now the documents are public. The tapes are still out there. Nothing can stop what is coming. Folks, this is absolutely solid. The White House exposed. If you don't see how all this is getting pieced together, the evidence released today shows the FBI had at least 14 confidential human sources reporting the derogatory information on Joe Biden. We're talking Round River here still. FBI analysis during R went into some of the files that marked their intelligence as Russian disinformation to discredit it. Yet another glaring, undeniable example of the Biden administration's weaponization of the federal government. Pass the Save America Act. Take a listen to this. You guys already know my thoughts on it anyways.
And finally, we will pass the Save America Act to defend our sacred American election. Because all voters must have photo ID, and all voters must provide proof of citizenship. Have to do it. We have to do it. And mail-in ballots, we're going to make them so secure you have no idea. If you want to stay home, you can do it, but we got to make them secure because they are crooked as hell. So thank you. Thank you very much.
And you know what that plan's going to look like. Bannon, we have before us evidence of a coup against a sitting president. The deep state must be held accountable. We must do it today, and we must do it in public. We are beyond committees. We need action. Take a listen.
We have before us evidence of a coup against a sitting president. And I don't care if that president's Bernie Sanders or AOC or Ossoff or whoever it could be, right? The deep state organized to have a coup against the sitting president. We must hold this accountable, and we must do it today, and we must do it in public. That's what I'm calling upon, not the Senate committees, not a House committee. We're beyond that. The hour is late, and we're burning daylight. Right now, we need action, action, action at the highest level.
Again, folks, the fatal funnel, the choke point, we are just about there. Not going to play this video because we already had it in the interest of time because we're very cutting it close to the edge here. General Flynn quote posts the skiff. This is the video that me and Josh talked about on some of the other shows where Wayne Allen Root comes out and essentially delivers the argument that I've been talking about from the very beginning of how this would play out. If you guys have seen or read my Substack article on what is the plan, you would understand this. But Wayne Allen Root comes out and essentially tells Trump, they're not passing what we need to pass. There's a way out of this that looks like a declaration of national emergency. We've talked about it, so I'm not going to, re-summarize that point. You guys get it, but here's the point I want to talk about. We started this with General Flynn putting that post to John McAfee. Now we bring it to this post where General Flynn says, good, just do it. Doesn't say this isn't possible. Doesn't say that it's conspiracy. Doesn't say that this is some tinfoil hat stuff. He says, good, just do it. Think about that for a second, folks. Think about the relationship this man has with Trump. Think about the jobs that he's had with Trump. Think about the military intelligence. Think about the fifth generation warfare. Encapsulate all that and recognize that he's telling Trump, just do it. And I want to remind you guys, because I've talked about it on this show and I've played the clips where General Flynn said, probably last year, early this year, Trump has a hard decision coming ahead of him that he's going to have to make. You think this could be it? I do. Let's keep going because we are very close to the edge on this. Storm has arrived. John Solomon. Let's see. Let me just get into the ones. Attorney Todd Blanche comes out and says DOJ will absolutely take voter roll fight from Trump's election integrity orders all the way to the Supreme Court. If we don't have secure elections, we don't have a country. Again, we're out of time on all that. And all this is to set the court of public opinion to have an indictment against the government, to have an indictment against the Senate because they didn't pass the Save America Act, which is all going to support Trump when he does this declaration of a national emergency for our elections. It is coming, folks. Let's see. We'll get into that. We'll close on this one here, and then we'll get into the Rumble rants. President Trump posts double booms. Obama, Brennan, these monsters do not get away with their treasonous crimes. And again, these come from Trump's Truth Socials. I mean, folks, that he's popping smoke. He's popping flares for us. Like you gotta get it. You gotta see it at this time. You have Brennan, you have Obama. They're not getting away with it. Let me pull this off the screen and go full screen with me. I'm going to read the Rumble rants just in the interest of saving time because we're down to 4 minutes. $2 Rumble rant coming in from Larry 5673. Another one pleads guilty to conspiracy over COVID. Looks like Rico. Another one. Great track record, Alpha. Thank you for that, Larry, and I appreciate it. $5 coming in from R Broadway. Clowns to the left of me, clowns to the right, but I be the Dan was the complete circus. You guys are savages. Be nice to the retards. Retards are closer than they appear. And then over here to our super chats. Thank you over there on YouTube for showing love to this show. James West, I think we got a couple of them from James West. I hope you met them all. 10 jewels hiding, 5 jewels for the treat, 5 jewels for another treat, 10 jewels for another hiding, another 10 jewels from the hiding from James. All those came from James West. Thank you for that. And then the last 2 here, we got Stacy Dunks 1275, 10 jewels, the gold coin. There's my imaginary flip. And last but not least, thank you guys all for your support. Denise Blaine 3737, 250 jewels. Almost did it again. The clapping seal. I'll do it. I'll do the circus for you guys. It's all great fun. Love you guys. Thank you for the support. We didn't get into the comms section that I wanted to get into tonight. So make sure you tune into DEFCON, because one part that I wanted to show, and I'm going to show it Monday anyways, for those of you that don't watch DEFCON, I found something. Remember when General Flynn posted a post and we're talking dark to light, the cues, the t-shirts? Holy shit, what I found. Holy shit. And you're going to catch it on DEFCON. I'm going to go get something to drink real quick, run, make a head call. You guys do me a solid. No outro video here. Keep yourselves in prayer. If you haven't done so, smash the heart, hit the thumb, share, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Good night. God bless and simplify.